I'm Emma, a certified dog trainer.
And I'm Kirsten, a certified dog behavior consultant.
And this is Dog Chats. Join us as we chat about dog behavior, having fun with your dogs, and building relationships. We will offer practical advice and a bit of humor. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 42. As we were deciding what to discuss this month, Kirsten mentioned weather. And I thought, wow, that's going to be really interesting because we don't think about that a lot with the dog's behavior and how it affects them, how it affects us. So we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, good. Some new ways of thinking about how the weather affects how our dogs act, or may or may not.
That's true. All individuals.
So how does wind affect a dog's behavior?
Well, I know personally, my two, they look outside the door and the wind is blowing and they're like, yeah, not for me. Mm. So I think some of the things that affects them is that the scent is moving all over the place. So they could be getting scent from some wild animal that's way off in the distance, could be blowing in here. I also think the sound, they're picking up a lot more than we are with the sound of the trees moving.
Yeah, I see dogs, because of that, acting more distracted and even maybe more disheveled. I certainly saw that when I was teaching with kids at recess on a windy day. And I think dogs are so attuned to their natural environment that happens, just that confusion.
What behaviors might we see with the wind? I know with my guys, they might be pulling. You know, they might walk nicely on leash all the time, but on those windy days, they're like, let's just get to where we're going, or let's get back home. It might be something we might see.
Yeah, I was thinking my dog's recall isn't as good. Oh. I don't know if my voice gets taken away in the wind or the smells are just more interesting, but I find they almost seem more primitive on a windy day, like wild horses.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that in a windy day too. I feel really alive. Like it's just,
you're like a stallion.
I think that's the Irish weather that made me like that. And I'm like, wind, it's wonderful. I know we were talking about anxiety in our last episode. And I know if the house creaks or a window makes a little bit of movement, that can make a dog that's pretty sensitive. Yeah. That can be hard on them too.
Yeah, and less focused maybe on their human because the environment is so interesting.
Let's talk about the other big one, rain.
Yeah. I have 4 dogs. 2 of my dogs hate the rain. I mean, those are inside potty days when we look out the window and it's raining. And then I would say the other 2, they don't mind it, but some dogs love the rain. But tell me about your dogs when it's raining.
Well, my previous 2 loved the rain, and it was perfect because nobody else was out. So we would have wind and rain, and they would just be having the best time ever.
It's like you were at home in Ireland.
They were just running around. Like I remember going to Carmel Beach, and it was stormy, and there was nobody out, and my 2 were like, this is fantastic. And I felt fabulous because I didn't have to look for any other dogs because nobody was out there. So I just dressed for the rain and out we went. But the 2 I have now are completely different. They both are like, no, not for us. Yeah. Not for us. I do carry Buddy out under the tree because he doesn't like being wet. He doesn't like even the paws on the grass. You can see them being lifted. Like that kind of feels a little bit weird to him. It's funny. I had a client yesterday that mentioned that his dog barks at cars, but only when it's raining.
Maybe the swoosh of the water.
That's what I was thinking too. When the tires make the noise, that's affecting.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Or the flying water pellets. You were talking when we were just chatting about this earlier about the different body compositions of a dog and how weather affects different dogs differently depending on how they're built, and it also makes me think of as they age, because there was a point where Mick loved the rain. Now he's 13, and I think it's just that arthritis and moving slower and feeling more vulnerable. He doesn't love it as much. He'll go out in it, but it's not like, it doesn't bring him joy. So wherever they're at developmentally, or if there's any kind of pain or health issue, the rain could just make it harder. And our dog Bear, our pug, when he had his vestibular disease, meaning the inner ear fluid was off, rain was really hard for him. And I don't know whether that was the barometric pressure or literally that ear getting wet, but he once loved being wet. And then after that happened, really changed for him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always think about the small dogs too. Like, you know, when you're drying them off afterwards, the belly is all wet compared to the bigger dogs.
So true. The puddles are deep.
They're just like, just like running across water. It's like if we laid flat and just were like swishing across the grass. Is there learning going on, you know, as far as the work we do? There's always learning going on, but just the stuff we do, that's hard to do in the rain too, because they can't hear us.
Absolutely.
And
so
we
many
have hoods up
distractions.
and we can't even see what's going on in the environment.
And I know it affects the smells.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how, but
I wonder, does it kind of press them in on like wind where it's like they're swishing around? Do they kind of sit a little heavier, I wonder?
Yeah. I don't know that answer. I know after the rain, I feel like the smells are more activated. Yeah. I think the water mixes with the scent and it's just more accessible for dogs, because I know my dogs, after it rains, they're just out there sniffing.
Which is great, because that's a wonderful thing to do too. So just after it rains, just going out there to do a little sniffari. Wonderful.
For enrichment. Well, not all rain comes in the same forms, right?
That's true too.
There's that Pacific Northwest kind of constant mist.
Yes, that's what we call in Ireland a fresh day.
A fresh day. My Irish relatives used to say angel kisses. Is that like that's what they called the mist or the drizzle? But you know, and then there's the storms. I grew up in the Midwest with for real storms and thunder and lightning. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah. They're feeling that change in the atmosphere.
Literally the vibrations, right? I know they feel the vibrations of the thunder way before we're actually hearing it. And it has to do with the magnetic pole on the earth, and they're feeling a lot of that.
You might see pacing, panting, hiding, like almost kind of that same firework thing.
Yep.
And again, connecting to what we talked about with anxiety, that anticipation that it might happen again.
Yeah, Mick goes either in the bathtub or the shower, which is fascinating. It has something to do with feeling grounded. And my vet had explained that was because there's the vibrations and just the normal floorboards. But if they're in the tub or the shower, they're feeling a little less of that.
We're lucky we don't have a lot of thunderstorms here, but there are places that have thunderstorms all during the summer and places that have it during the winter as well. So,
and there's that electrical energy with the summer storms. We used to just call them electrical lightning. I don't know if that's the actual term. You know, the lightning that would light up the sky in different colors, and there wasn't always thunder, but that static certainly is felt. So not just summer storms, but out here, a lot of our storms are happening in the winter.
Yeah, and we don't get an incredible amount, but we do get them. So the thing about more seasonal, the whole season of winter, what that can look like. The days are shorter.
Yeah.
We're less active.
Yeah.
Maybe then our dogs are less active.
Oh yeah, I don't want to walk the dogs in the dark.
Exactly. Right? Nobody wants to be out there. So we kind of close into our house. So we're not as much outside. I know my dogs, they're like, yeah, I'm just coming right back in. I'm not going to be sitting like just laying down in the cold.
Yeah.
I want to come back in. And that depends on the dog, because if you've got a northern breed, they may love sitting out there.
They're like, thank goodness, I can finally be outside and not overheat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's important too, to keep in mind the breed of dog or breed mix of dog you have and how they're going to feel about that. But we might even do shorter walks because we're like, oh, it's cold outside. I don't really want to be out that long, or it's raining, or whatever else is happening with the winter. So they may not get as much activity. And then maybe just are sleeping more. We're seeing more sleeping. We might be sleeping more ourselves.
Yeah. And I'm not getting out, like in the summer, I'm getting out in the morning and meeting friends for walks, you know, hikes, off leash, social time.
Yeah.
I'm much less social in the winter, and my dogs are too.
So how does that affect us and them behavior wise?
So they're getting less social activity, less physical, maybe even less mental activity. And that begs that question, is this boredom or laziness? What does that look like? And how does that affect their well-being during the winter?
Well, yeah, they have that energy. Where is it going to go, right? We're doing less because it's dark. Okay, it's dark. It's time for bed.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have the same outlets that they had in the others.
So we might see, depending on their age too, we might see some behaviors come out with that. Puppies tend to do zoomies and get a little crazy in the evenings. And in the winter, that doesn't feel the same as it does in the summer months.
I think my dogs sleep more during the day, and then they're not ready to go to bed when I'm ready to go to bed in the winter.
They're like, let's go.
Almost like a restlessness. sometimes I'm seeing more naughtiness with when my dogs were
they're
younger.
just getting up to stuff.
Yeah, and that's that boredom factor, right?
Yeah,
like we're going to
awake.
self-entertain. So what can we do to?
So the winter one is perfect because we've done a couple of on this on games that you can play inside, and those obviously are for summer as well when it's too hot.
Yeah.
And you have to be good with this. I mean, like, honestly, sometimes I say these things and then I look at my dogs and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't do that with you as much as I should. But just creating stuff for them every day. My ritual is I bring out the bully sticks and they get to chew their bully sticks for a little while when I come back in.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing for them to do. You can set up snuffle mats, puzzles. You can do games that we did videos for on our Instagram page. You can do hide and seek. You can do stuff where they're doing some recalls in the house. Or you can create some stuff inside.
Yeah. Or you could do Kirsten's lazy trick of a handful of cat kibble scattered around the house.
I know. Scatter feed.
Scatter feed. And I say the cat kibble just because it's so small, but it's still really.
It takes a while for them to get it. Yeah. And shredding too, if you know your dog doesn't eat stuff, sometimes we'll give an egg carton.
Toilet paper tubes.
Yeah. And Kiva likes them much more than Buddy does. She just tears them apart and then just walks away and just leaves the mess for me.
Yeah. And 20 minutes of that kind of enrichment equals an hour walk.
So if you feel like I can't get them out today, what could I do inside to give them what they need? And again, we're talking about winter right now, but this applies for the summer months as well when it's really super hot out and we can't be out there that much.
So the whole reason this came about was because I was telling you that I definitely have seasonal depression disorder. And I love the idea of moving somewhere else in the country that's more affordable, but I don't think you can beat our weather here. And I'm so dependent on the sun. And then I started thinking, okay, if I did move somewhere more affordable, would my dogs feel depressed if it wasn't sunny?
Ah, interesting.
What do you think?
Well, I know when we had this conversation that wasn't related to dog chats, we were talking about moving someplace, and I was bringing up the fact of places being too hot or too cold, and how lucky we are that we live someplace that we love the climate here. And I feel the same way. I feel this about summer, that if it's too hot outside and I have to be inside all the time, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
In winter, I feel cozy, and that's probably the way I grew up. So, you know, the winter is a cozy time. You're indoors, but I probably would feel that seasonal depression if I went to someplace that was snowy all the time.
But when it's snowy, the sun comes out. For me, it's all the sun.
And for our dogs, there's no real way of telling. I know he loves the sun, but in the winter, I think sometimes they do get bored. They look like they're just hanging out going, we're not doing anything and this really sucks.
Yeah.
Because again, like we've said before, dogs don't have a lot of choices. So when we don't want to go out, they don't get to go out.
They're reliant on us.
Yeah.
Emma did a little research for me to try to answer that question. And there isn't a lot of hardcore data on whether or not dogs experience seasonal depression disorder. I would say my dogs in some ways are happier when it's not sunny and, not too hot or not too cold. But it definitely affects their routine. It affects their exercise schedule because of me, because they're reliant on us. So by transitive property, my seasonal depression disorder gets put onto them. But I think my dogs are more resilient and more flexible than me.
But that goes with whether we're in the winter of our lives too, right? If you're younger, you might be, even in the winter, you're moving a lot more.
True.
And, as we get older, we're not in the winter of our lives.
Are we in the fall of our lives?
We're in good
early fall, late
fall.
Summer.
We're saying it's very early fall. But our movements are changing anyway.
Yeah.
So our dogs are adjusting to our life seasonal.
Yeah, so
stuff.
True. I love that. Good metaphor.
Yeah. Let's move on to spring.
Okay.
Because in the research doing this, I thought spring was really interesting because it is the change of seasons. Flowers are beginning to start to bloom. The smells are different. There's more wildlife coming out.
Baby animals are born.
Days are getting longer. The dogs are beginning to go outside a little bit more.
Yeah, more people walking their dogs.
Yes, maybe a little less responsive. They're maybe more interested in seeing other dogs if they haven't seen a lot during the winter months.
Yeah, I get more calls for leash reactivity definitely in the spring than any other time of year.
Interesting.
And I think it's what you said. Everybody's been inside. And so the dogs have almost forgotten what that's like to, have that conundrum of there's other dogs in their neighborhood, in their social environment.
So
they're like, hey,
I didn't know you lived there. And also we do get that my dog has forgotten everything they knew. And that obviously sometimes happens with age and what developmental stage they're in, but that can happen too because they haven't, like we were mentioning, they haven't been off leash, they haven't moved around as much. And this is like not to say that we all just hibernate for the winter. They're still doing stuff, but thinking of just behavior and how it might change season-wise. I think the spring is one of those interesting things because it's really that transition that you can see, like they're beginning to go, they're leaving the door open a little bit more. I'm beginning to able to go out and just freely move outside. They don't keep shutting the door behind me. And also for spring, we've been talking about snifaris, but again, that's a wonderful time.
Yeah. All the new smells.
All that nose work they can be doing.
Yeah.
And that's a time where we see our dogs eating grass.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think it's because the fresh grass, there's loads of theories, like is their stomach feeling sick? Is it something from genetically wired in there? But the grass is fresh. It's just starting to grow and it just is like,
If I was going to eat grass,
yes,
I would rather eat spring grass than summer or fall grass, right?
Yes. But with spring also comes some stuff that comes with it, and we know well, allergies. We might see our dogs itching more, ears, licking paws, rubbing the face, sneezing. There's just environmental stuff that starts to happen during that period of time that can affect behavior.
Yeah, so thinking about like the seasons of our life, I think about that big energy of the spring is like the puppy, and then that summer is kind of like the adolescent, before it gets too hot, there's certainly more to do, more time in the day to be outside. I'm more active. I'm more ready to explore and take risks like I was when I was a teenager. And so how does that affect our dog's behavior?
Well, they're probably like, oh, do we have to go again? So it could be some of that. Or some of them are like, yay, we're going again. Right. Yeah. I know we have a convertible bug, and in the summer, obviously, it gets driven a little bit more. And Kiva, if it's mentioned to her, do you want to go for a drive in the bug? She's like up and like, she's like, let's go. Because she loves that. I mean, like we have her safely in there and she's just going around sniffing and we just do little drives with her and she absolutely loves that. So I think that comes with seasonally, she knows that comes in the summer months. And something that we love to do too. So we're more active, we're outside more. We might even be just sitting out in the backyard. Everything outside becomes part of the inside too. Yeah. So everything just opens up.
Definitely. I'm not bringing my dogs around in the car as much though, because to your point about you've got the convertible, I don't have that. So, I think about the heat, depending on where we're at in the summer, that can affect behavior, and the opposite, almost that sudden slowdown. Even if my dogs don't want to slow down, we have to
think about that because we're all different, just like our dogs. And the summer is a big topic that gets talked about a lot with dogs, making sure that they're not too hot, they're not left in cars.
Yeah. And we have whole episodes on that.
Just talking about even the difference between my two dogs. Buddy could sit in the sun all day long. Well, not all day long, but first, he could sit out there, and he was when we started this. He was laying out in the sun when we were getting ready to record, and my bigger dog was inside laying on her bed. And he can sit out there for quite a while. And then he started to pant a little bit, and he can regulate himself. He can come in, but a lot of dogs aren't very good at that because in spring they're used to being out a little bit, but then the temperature starts to get much hotter in the summer, and they're not very good at figuring out when they should come in.
Yeah, and I think some people aren't really good at looking at the dog and saying, I'm okay out here on this walk or this hike,
Mhm.
but I need to be more mindful of how my dog is feeling.
If we want to do some behavior stuff with our dogs outside, we just have to remember that they may not be learning all that well in heat. And I did hear something from Dr. Tom Mitchell. He was saying that even the intake of food can be less during the summer months. So if we're trying to do some work with them and give them food, they're not going to be interested in that. But I also think that's really interesting because I noticed my dogs over the last couple of weeks, and it's been really hot here, is they don't eat all their food.
My dogs
kinda
always
leave
eat
it.
all their food.
They always eat their food, yeah.
Or they eat each other's
Yeah.
food.
So they're kind of slow. They kind of,
Yeah.
by 5:00, the food is gone and they're ready for the
Yeah.
next meal. But in the morning, they're like, not all that hungry.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
But one of the things that just came to my mind there that I have noticed that they do is when we're about to go for a walk, they both will go over to the water bowl and intake some water.
Wow, smart dogs.
I thought that was really smart.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
They're like, we're about to go out. We're not sure where we're going, so we're just
They're
going to come over
hydrating.
here. I mean, like
Yeah.
sometimes they do it with the food too. I don't know where they think we're going, that they won't have access to food. But I think it's a really interesting behavior that I've noticed, that they both go to drink some water before they go out.
My dogs would never put that together. Sorry. I was thinking about, you were talking about not loving the heat earlier. I love the heat. And the other day I went for an afternoon hike with a friend and brought Charlie. And we were in the shade. So in my mind, it was like totally fine. Like I didn't bring water. I wasn't going that far. And my friend turned and looked at Charlie at the end and was like, oh my gosh, look at him. He needs some water. And I said, I'll be fine. And my friend offered him some water. And Charlie drank so much so fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, just because I'm not thirsty
It doesn't mean
doesn't
that
mean
they're
this
not.
little guy wearing the fur coat.
Exactly. And heat can be different too.
Mhm.
Humidity can make them overheat even more. So really important to kind of think, what kind of day is it out? Because even maybe in the shade, it's not enough.
Yeah, because they don't have the same cooling mechanisms that we have.
No.
They're
We're
not
just
gonna
looking at their mouth, and sometimes you can't even tell with the paws being sweaty because they might have been walking over something that was damp. Basically, all we're reading is just that tongue being out and how much panting is going on before they overheat. We won't get into overheating, but there's a lot of nice information that's come out recently on how to cool down your dogs and stuff.
And knowing that they're probably not learning that much at that point. And once they're panting, they're not really taking in scent the same way. It's harder for them to relax and focus. And
just like us,
Mhm.
when we're too hot, I just need to go into a room and lie down.
I'm so
and
happy when I'm hot.
I know, isn't that crazy? And I
never warm
don't
enough.
love the winter. I mean, like I'm not like one for like
You're
really
such
cold.
a Californian. You're perfect.
I'm really like spring. Like spring is like when it's 70. I'm like, it is just so perfect. That's if
I'm
it could be just
cold.
like that.
I like it 90.
And you're like my husband John,
Yeah.
where he could be out doing yard work in 90-degree heat, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going out there to help you. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen because I'll be out there 2 minutes and I'll have to come in to cool down. The other thing too, when we were doing a little research too, is heat and reactivity. You said you see a little bit in spring, you see reactivity, but then
And that's mostly dogs who haven't been out and walked at the same time there's other dogs out. So I think that's more like all of a sudden the social environment has changed. So you're passing 10 dogs on a walk instead of one.
whereas the heat of the summer could be just like they're irritated, they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The heat can actually create that a little bit as well.
I do love using the heat, the middle of the day, for finding shade and doing relax on the mat with clients and watching things in the distance. Some dogs slow down in the heat enough where they're happy to do that relax on the mat in the shade.
Yes.
We can find some cool grass and watch other dogs, especially if it's a dog that's normally pretty hyper and ready to go. It can be a nice way to work that into it. So we have to think about not only how the weather's affecting us, but how it's affecting our dogs.
So a couple of other things that came up, not just seasonal and weather patterns, is air quality. That's something we're dealing with now all over the world, really.
Yeah.
Is if there's a fire someplace, we can get smoke. It can be unhealthy to be out. And I do see people wearing masks to protect themselves if there's some heavy smoke in the air.
Yeah.
But they're not doing anything for their dogs, and they're going off for a walk, just a normal walk with their dog, and they have the mask on. Just putting it out there to really think about your dog is inhaling whatever is in the atmosphere. So just keep in mind if it does say bad air quality, then just stay inside.
Yeah.
I think we've got to the stage where we think our dogs need to be walked absolutely every day. And we have this certain amount of guilt if we don't do it. But sometimes it's safer to keep them inside than them be out in something that's not going to be healthy for them.
Definitely, especially over time, depending where you are in terms of wildfires or pollution and things like that. That cumulative effect can really become toxic.
Yeah, we've been covered in smoke here several times. We know what it feels like and what it smells like. And even that smell probably for a dog is not great. So, just getting them out to do whatever they need to do and get them back in.
So thinking about what's different about our dog's world today, waking up and asking yourself that question, and thinking about dogs' sensory perception, the fact that they use their noses so much to inhale information about the world and how their nose is so sensitive and affected by that, whether it's temperature or air quality or barometric pressure in their ears, all of those things really do affect a dog's behavior and how they feel.
The seasons change and the environment also changes with the seasons, and our approach should be that we consider how that changes our dog's behavior. So our challenge to you is to take a look at your dogs in the season we're in now, and what are you seeing that might look different?
Seeing the world through your dog's perspective, like we've talked about many times before. How is the weather affecting how they feel, and how does that affect how they're acting and behaving?
Thanks for tuning in today, and hope you'll join us for our next episode. You can reach Emma at
ecdogtraining.com or on Instagram at ecdog_training, and Kirsten at
kwhappydogs.com or on Facebook at kwhappydogs. Don't forget to hit subscribe. See you next time.